For 5 seasons, the boys promised you one thing: the day Homelander finally takes the gloves off. So for the finale, they made him immortal, unkillable, an actual god walking into the Oval Office. And then he lost a fist fight without scratching the furniture. He offered to go down on Billy Butcher for his life to be spared, and he tried to fly out the building at about 1 mile per hour. Scorched earth. That is the send-off for the best character this show ever produced. The most hyped villain on television, 7 years in the making, and goes out begging for his life in a room he could have vaporized in season 1. And here's the part you have to understand before you write it off as a bad finale. That was not a mistake. That was the plan working exactly as designed, because the boys did not destroy one character. It destroyed all of them in the same way, and it took me the whole series to catch the trick. Every season, the writers spin a wheel. Whatever it lands on becomes that character's arc for the year. It connects to nothing they did before. It goes nowhere. And by the finale, they do a factory reset on that wheel so they can spin it again next year. Nobody grows. Nobody changes. Nobody keeps a single scar. 5 seasons, 0 movement. A show about a revolution where the entire cast ends precisely where it started. Let me walk you through the bodies, because this is the most expensive load of nothing ever uploaded to a streaming service. First, you need to know I'm not just a hater who showed up wanting to swing. Season 1 of The Boys is great. Not just good for a superhero show, it's great. It had one clean idea and committed. The pampered celebrity god versus the working people who have had enough. And the tension was real, because at any second, one of these clumsy demigods could turn a person into a red smear on the pavement. I loved that show. So if this channel is where you come to watch someone perform an autopsy on the stuff we all wanted to be good, go ahead and subscribe, because this body is going to take a while. Start at the top, with the god they turned into a punchline. Season 1 Homelander is one of the scariest characters ever put on TV, and he barely does anything. That is the whole magic. He still wore a mask. He still cared what America thought of him. So every time the Superman smile slipped for half a second, your stomach dropped, because you knew the real thing was underneath and it was deciding whether you got to live. Flight 37 is the perfect example. A plane is going down. Homelander is standing in the aisle, and he can obviously save these people. He just decides it's not worth the risk to his image, and he lets the whole cabin die, and he walks away. He did not scream. He just did not care enough to help, and it was the most disturbing thing in the season. Or the baptism, where he dunks Hughie in the water, holds him under 1 second too long with this tiny smile, and you honestly cannot tell if he's about to drown a man for fun. Or the van, where he could rip the door off with one finger, and instead he calmly asks Frenchie for his license and plays traffic cop, because the fun for him is pretending. This is horror hiding inside a colorful costume. Now here is Homelander by season 5. He has a divine breakdown where he finally fully accepts that he is a god. It should be terrifying. It means the leash is off forever, and the show immediately cuts to him alone in private moaning. Just in case the shocking moment made you feel something, Eric Kripke sprints in to remind you it is silly, so you laugh instead of brace. Then there is the tape. Flight 37, the recording that proves the perfect hero let a plane full of people die. The one piece of leverage so nuclear that Homelander swore he would burn the world down if it ever got out. It gets out in season 5, finally, and Vought announces it is AI, and Homelander barely reacts, and the plot moves on. They spent 3 seasons building the biggest loaded gun in the show just to fire a blank. By now, he is a meme machine who gets more upset about the memes people make of him than about anything the boys do. He is the fastest, strongest being alive, with X-ray vision and super hearing, and he cannot find a hideout? He literally X-rays the building, sees a room lined with metal, and just does not check the one place a person would obviously be hiding. This is the Jaws effect, and the writer failed it. The shark is scary until you see the whole rubber shark. The more screen time they gave Homelander, the more they proved there was nothing left under the mask, because they had already ripped the mask off and sold it for parts. So by the finale, the strongest character in the history of the show cannot win a fight in a room, offers a sexual favor to survive, and gets normalified by a beam while everyone holds him down. The most anticipated snap in television history, and they let the balloon out 1 slow inch at a time for 7 years. Which brings us to the man who was supposed to end him. Billy Butcher spent 3 seasons as the one thing this show never fumbled, a walking hate crime against soups, and underneath it one dead wife, and one thin thread of a soul. So season 4 decides the way to honor that is to have a character reveal that Butcher cheated on Becca. The fans were so offended that they simply deleted it from canon. That is not a joke. The audience collectively agreed to pretend a plot point did not happen, and honestly, well done. The same season, the writers fire Butcher from The Boys, then build a whole scene a few episodes later about him earning his way back onto the team, then have him leave again like the rehiring never happened. They gave one character 3 status changes in 8 episodes and none of them mattered. Then they tease villain Butcher for the entire final stretch, the deal with the devil, the darkness, the man who might wipe out every soup on Earth including his own friends. Finally, a real story. A real ending. And here is what tips him over the edge into genocide. He kills Homelander. He wins. He saves the world. He goes home. And his dog dies of old age, peacefully in its sleep. That is the thing that convinces Billy Butcher to go murder every superhuman on the planet. A dog dying happy in a bed at the end of a long life. We are 20 minutes from the credits of the entire series. Hughie shoots him. Butcher dies. And then the survivors gather at his grave and crack jokes, and the show cuts to a warm little epilogue montage, and I felt nothing at all, which is a real achievement for a scene lit like the gates of heaven. Speaking of Hughie, look at what they do to the actual main character, because that is what he was. Hughie was the whole entire point of season 1, the normal, scared guy whose girlfriend gets turned into a cloud of blood in the first 10 minutes. Our eyes in this world. The human the entire show was built to hang on. Eric Kripke's stated plan for Hughie by the later seasons was to make him suffer, because a good man suffering makes him shine. So watch season 4 Hughie shine. His and Starlight's abortion gets broadcast to the whole country. His father collapses. He gets sexually assaulted, not once, but twice, and both times the show frames it as comedy. And his one real moment, the closest the show ever came to giving him a soul, is his dad dying in a hospital bed with a vial of Compound V in Hughie's hand. Save him and risk turning him into a monster, or let him go as the man he loved. Hughie makes the hard call. He chooses to let his father die with dignity, and then his mother, a character invented that same season, sneaks in and injects the Compound V herself while Hughie is not looking. Look at what that does. It takes the one real choice this character got to make in 7 years and hands it to a stranger, so Hughie never had to carry it, which is the perfect place to bring in the show. This one keeps standing next to and losing to. In Breaking Bad, Jesse Pinkman starts as a loud, immature kid and ends as a man carved up by every terrible thing he chose to do. You cannot lift the ending off the choices. That is what a character is. The Boys version of that scene is Walter White building a bomb, whispering, "I cannot do this." And then a baby brother the writers never mentioned before walking in and pushing the detonator for him. All of the plot, none of the weight. They wanted the dad to go on an Alzheimer's soup rampage for the fun of it, but they refused to let it cost Hughie a thing, because a scar is a change, and a change is against the rules of this show. Show me the first 2 episodes of The Boys, then cut straight to season 5 Hughie, and it is the same person. No growth, no changes. And by the final season, he does effectively nothing, because there was nothing left to do with a person who was never once allowed to become someone. And if you think the women get handled with more care, meet Starlight. Her season 4 arc, courtesy of The Wheel, is that she discovers she used to be a mean girl and now cannot stop beating people up. That is the arc, a brand new personality trait with no setup. Gone by the finale. It became a running joke that Starlight never wins a fight. Hands up, eyes glowing, and then she loses or gets bailed out. In the finale, she flies the deep to a beach to finish him, except she has no idea the ocean has turned on him, so her big kill only works by pure accident. The writing is so checked out that the hero's victories are unintentional. Then there's Frenchie, who I can summarize completely and fairly. Take season 5 Frenchie, drop him into season 1, and he is identical. Nothing reached this man in 7 years. They tried once with a lover named Colin whose entire family Frenchie had murdered, which sounds dark and rich until you notice every scene is the same loop. Frenchie flirts, Frenchie remembers the murder, Frenchie stares into the distance while a sad Spanish guitar strums. Repeat. The one time it clicked was when he walked into a police station and confessed, actually choosing punishment, actually doing something no reset button could undo. So they hit the reset button. Mallory pulls a few strings and he's out by the next scene, and the show shrugs. And his eulogy, the emotional farewell to a man we followed for 5 years, is a speech about how seeing each other's buttholes is what makes a family close. That is the funeral. That is the respect. Kimiko, his other half, finally gains the ability to speak in the last season, and the show writes her like a foul-mouthed cartoon, as if being mute for years meant she never once observed how humans talk. Then she learns a brand new Soldier Boy chest blast in a single episode and takes down the immortal God King using a hallucination of dead Frenchie. None of it built up. All of it yanked off the wheel at the last second because they needed Homelander to lose and had run out of real ideas. And here's the thing that should actually get you. So let me speed up, because the list of ruined characters is honestly too long for full segments. Sister Sage, hyped for 2 seasons as the smartest person alive with a secret master plan. The plan turns out to be nothing. She gets written as too smart to understand love, which is a line from the Big Bang Theory. Then she gets depowered and wanders off to what is functionally Harry Potter world. No consequences for anything she did to anyone. Soldier Boy, the best thing that Season 3 ever added, brought back a walking billboard for a spin-off that has not aired, retconned into a decades-long love affair with a woman he mentioned exactly once, then stuffed back in the freezer so he can skip the finale and be saved for the boys in Mexico. That is what Clara would have wanted. The Deep, an aquatic superhero, dies by forgetting how to swim, while the sea creatures he can telepathically talk to decide this specific episode to hate him. Black Noir gets a fun little arc about wanting to be a stage actor, can fly, and then gets choked and stabbed to death without ever attempting to fly, and not one character in the show mentions that he is gone. Victoria Neuman, the head-popping political time bomb they wound up for 3 seasons, dies at the end of Season 4 in a scene that pays off nothing and changes nothing. Oh Father exists so the finale has a suit to fight and dies to a Kevlar ball gag that anyone with working arms could have torn straight out. Ashley gets Compound V, becomes Bashley, helps the boys for one convenient moment, and gets impeached from the presidency as a punchline. Ryan, the whole themic future of the series, godhood versus manhood, torn between 2 fathers, gets sidelined for most of the final season and then made completely irrelevant because they turned Homelander immortal. So the son who was supposed to inherit the war does not matter anymore. And Stan Edgar strolls out alive, retakes Vought, and gets to build the next Homelander, which means the show forgot its own thesis. Homelander was never the disease. Vought was. They killed the symptom, and they handed the cancer a corner office. You want to know the cruelest part of all of this? 2 characters got it exactly right. A-Train, the coward from episode 1, gets a slow, earned 5-season redemption and a death that actually means something. Queen Maeve gets a real arc and a heroic sacrifice that costs her everything. So it was never that they could not do this. They knew exactly how. A-Train is standing right there as proof. They just decided, for everyone else, that spinning the wheel was easier than writing a person. And that is the real autopsy result. The Boys started as the show that pointed at Marvel and laughed. Soulless machine, endless empty spin-offs, content where a story should be. Then it made Gen V. Then it announced Vought Rising. Then it spent its entire final season selling you a prequel instead of finishing itself, drowning its own ending in cameos and setups and Reddit bait politics, telling you about riots and prison camps instead of ever showing you one, so that a show released in 2026 somehow looks like it was filmed alone during lockdown. Every new soup it introduces has the same single trait, which is that they are a sex pest, because that is the only card left in the deck. It became the exact thing it was built to make fun of. Marvel's weird uncle, shouting the bad word at the dinner table to prove he is still the cool one. Eric Kripke's actual defense, in his own words, is that his job is to make you feel an emotion. Love it or hate it, as long as you felt something, he did his job.